goes out to my man Wendell Scott. You really know how you feel on getting robbed on many a race. This still goes on in today's racing too. This goes out to you. Even though we didn't get the victory, we was robbed of the victory, and we know and they know we technically won that race. But we got
Please keep it
second.
low.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm dropping back. Go around me. Go inside. I'm not trying to die today.
How you fucking doing, Sam? Fuck you, man.
Check some of the action in the other part of the race. Strategy is always the same at Daytona. The race is not won in the first couple laps, but a lot of people fail to realize that.
Seven, hold your fucking line, man.
You're an idiot. Get the fuck out of my way. Don't come down on me again.
Back. Really?
Ha! That's karma. Nice job.
I'm sorry, number 12. I just couldn't get it any more in.
Dude, how is there no crossing through all of that?
They were off the track.
There's a few cars that made it back on, but I don't know. There's a good 2 crashes there that they just didn't even throw a caution for.
Sorry guys, I totally thought yellow came out. I was just coasting. Need to get some air to the radiator.
Please keep it. I've literally almost crashed like 1,000 times already. I don't know how I'm still in this lead pack.
Whoa, that was not one of the most scariest things I've ever seen.
Caution, let's go on into the pits, get us a few fresh tires. Same goal. The race is won at the end of the race. You want to race me down pit lane?
Brake man. Fort. Correct.
It's amazing. I call that wreck and you still run me over.
Wow.
Just taking our time. We climbed all the way to back to 15th.
It's amazing. I call that record. You still run me over. Correct. It's amazing. I call that record. You still run me over. Fort.
Here we ran a couple laps and felt like, still not enough. Still a lot of loose cars, a lot of bumping. So we're going to run a lap and then we're just going to fall back. Lap 24.
Ben, please, don't be a danger.
We ran the whole lap. We're like, okay. 25, we easing our way on back to the back.
Way to find the cars are even left. Way to find the whole 18.
Ken, you gotta stop. Oh, Ken, you are crazy, man.
Yeah, the 10's been an asshole the whole freaking race.
Yeah, he couldn't hold his line.
Your pace car going into one.
Yes, man, I see that. Number 10. Oh, man.
Way to find the whole 18.
A real champion. Thank you.
You follow me through? He had to be running with a controller or something.
Checking out backstretch pace car.
Them two. Maybe friends. I don't know. But we'll talk about that at the end of the race. Let's get to the excitement. In the pacing lap.
I'm down and out of power. I'll get out of the way.
I
when
love
the
watching
race
some person just completely
just
pass
need
their
to be
pistol on
raced
pit lane and then just reset.
in the last 10, 15 laps is when the race is won or
No, I was
lost.
trying to get one more lap counted.
Wendell, I can feel your pain. I can feel your pain, brother. Right now, this haunts me still. I can't let it go. I'm sorry, I just can't let it go. I might be wrong, but I just can't let it go.
All right, man, you gotta hold the brake. I'm gonna try to get right on your bumper. Make sure you hold the brake. Just give it your feel.
Nine and 7. Probably buddies.
Yeah, I got nothing. Pass to the right, pass to the right.
He tried to give him a little push to run away, side draft now, but I'm faster. Period. Here I start to recognize what's going on and what I'm up against. He tries to, I come down low, which is what he wants me to, so they can block me in. But I'm going to force the action to where I'm not going to allow him to block me in. Here I break free.
Pass to the left, red car coming up. Pass on the left.
Suck in and get a little draft on it. I just want to take a look at this. This is just what I want to take a look at. got to run. It's no way neither one of them can win. It's no way neither one of them could win by racing me. It's no way. I got them by a car length, pretty much. I have them by a car length.
Hello, race fans, and welcome out to the Jacksonville Speedway Park, December 1st, 1963, as the stars of the NASCAR Grand National Series get set to put on a great race here for you this afternoon. Catch all the thrills and spills. Buck Baker of Charlotte, North Carolina. Ned Jarrett out of Hickory, North Carolina. Augusta, Georgia's Jack Smith. And the color driver from Danville, Virginia, Wendell Scott, all racing for you here today. Race fans, pick you out a favorite. Who's going to go home with the trophy here tonight?
It's 1963. The civil rights movement is just causing a lot of friction in the South. There are demonstrations, there are racial murders, there is very divided in parts of the South at that time. Wendell Scott, the only black driver on the NASCAR circuit, racing in a tough, white, lower-class neighborhood in Jacksonville.
And black community around, my friends and all, they said, why is he down there with those hillbillies and rednecks? So Wendell, you know, he had no help, no help.
He integrated an all-white sport completely on his own. He didn't have anybody in the executive levels protecting him like Jackie Robinson did. He integrated Southern stock car racing on his own.
Seemed like every little stumbling block would make him just more and more determined.
He refused to let anyone steal his dream.
It was deep embedded in his soul, in our soul.
Darlington, a quiet town of 6,000, hung out the welcome sign. From far and near, the fans began to gather. Old times were gone, but not forgotten.
The South was still very segregated, and so he was living in this environment, and it wasn't easy for him to do.
He was a state champion in the NASCAR sportsman class, and he still couldn't get a cup of coffee at a lunch counter.
We were in Birmingham, Alabama, actually doing the period that they were doing marches in Selma and Birmingham.
We would have to go into a city where there may have been demonstrations or may have been something going on, racial tension.
But we didn't go to march. We went to race.
We raced at the fairgrounds in Charlotte, old fairground track. And we left home that morning, just my father and I. And he come down there and they had advertised he was gonna be there, and a lot of people were there just to see this Negro driver. But we had some mechanical problems that day, blew an engine or something, and we finished out of the way of failure. He didn't have but a couple of dollars, so he went to promoter, hoping to get some tow money. Just they wouldn't give you much. They'd give you $10 or $15 to help you buy some gas.
Sir, I was wondering if I can get me my tow money. So me and my boy can get enough gas to get back home.
You weren't in for a prize money today, son.
But don't you give all them other drivers enough money to get home?
Maybe next time you build yourself a motor that won't blow up 15 laps before the end of the dang race. Guess you're gonna have to work a little harder, ain't you?
He couldn't get anything. I mean, he told him, So when we left the track, he only had a couple dollars.
Wait right here, I'll be right back.
I'll never forget it, bought a little icebox sandwich.
Here, eat this.
He wouldn't take up half of it. I tried to get it. He said, no, and he said, no, you eat it. He hadn't had anything to eat, but he made me eat the whole sandwich. And I can remember him putting his arm around me and rubbing my stomach. And it was a bad storm that day. We got back about 20 miles from Danville, and the truck gave out of gas. And I mean, it was fast, it was like a hurricane. So we were sitting on the side of the road with no gas.
Might be a little gas left in the race car. Wait right here, I'll be right back.
I'll never forget it, bought a little icebox sandwich.
Here, eat this.
He wouldn't take up half of it. I tried to get it. He said, no, and he said, no, you eat it. He hadn't had anything to eat, but he made me eat the whole sandwich. And I can remember him putting his arm around me and rubbing my stomach. And it was a bad storm that day. We got back about 20 miles from Danville, and the truck gave out of gas. And I mean, it was fast, man. It was like a hurricane. So we were sitting on the side of the road with no gas.
Might be a little gas left in the race car.
He got a little gallon can, like a water hose. So he went out and siphoned the gas out of the race tank. So then he poured that gas in the tank. If the man had given him $5, you know, we wouldn't have to go through it. So he endured a lot of hardships that were totally unnecessary. It was all because of race.
All right, quiet! Quiet!
Be quiet. Be quiet.
He would treat an engine like it was a lady, man. He would taste oil. You know, he'd smell it. I think he got the lust for automobile repair from his dad.
His father was good at working on cars, and he would sit next to his dad and watch what wrenches his dad was using, and he got so he would know what wrench he should hand his father next. Was that bolt a 9/16 or a 5/8? And little Wendell knew that, and he could hand his father the right wrench. He became a mechanical expert on bicycles as a kid. He knew how to adjust those ball bearings so that there was the least amount of friction.
And all the kids would come to Wendell. He was making these little homemade bikes run back then.
Looking spiffy, Wendell. There you go.
He grew up in a situation where white people and black people got along in his neighborhood in Danville. That was his early childhood experience.
He actually went to integrated schools as elementary years. He went to school with whites, and so it was a natural thing. He never felt uncomfortable. The way it all started, he used to go to the races and watch the races. He and some of his pals, they'd go and sit in the stands, and they're like, you know, man, you think you could do that? You got nerve enough to do that? He said, yeah, I can do it.
And he recognized this as something that he really wanted to do. But this was the early 50s. He didn't know how to make that door open. Fortunately, the promoters in Danville, they were with an organization known as the Dixie Circuit, which was one of the regional competitors to NASCAR back at the time. And they weren't making enough money, and they wanted some kind of gimmick. And they thought that having a Negro driver would be good for promotion. So they went to the Danville cops and said, you know, who's the fastest black driver in town? And the cop said, oh, we've been chasing him for years. You
No.
What?
Your face.
Your face.
What?
You got the whole thing.
want Wendell Scott. He started driving bootleg whiskey not long after he came back from World War II. He could outrun the cops. He was good at out. When Scott ran his first cup race, his first Grand National race in 1961, the promoters and officials did not want the crowd to know that there was a black driver competing. They never told the newspapers that this was the first day that a black driver has competed at this level of our sport. There were drivers who would wreck him deliberately, drivers who were just hostile on a personal level. His first few years in the Grand National level, he had a lot of trouble with Jack Smith. Jack Smith was just a very hostile person. They were on the pace lap of a race, and Jack Smith had threatened to wreck him in that race.
Jack Smith pulled up beside him and pointed his finger at my dad like, I'm gonna get you again tonight or whatever. So my father had to confront him to let him know that, you know, I'm tired of this.
That ended his troubles with Jack Smith.
I always felt that Daddy would be able to handle himself, but that my brothers, if something goes wrong, that something might happen quick that you couldn't erase.
That was in Harris, North Carolina. On that particular day, man, I tell you, brother, you know, he had to use the bathroom really bad.
You know we ain't supposed to be here.
Hush now, I got to go back.
I went the other day out to the track, and I swear to God, I saw the other. So wait.
I never forget. I was zipping up or whatever, and I heard his voice trembling through the door of the bathroom.
Brother, we got some people out here.
Said, brother, some people out here. And I said, oh,
So wait. Oh. Hey, boys.
That was probably 6 beer-drinking rednecks. That's what they were.
Looks like we got a couple of coloreds who don't know how to obey the rules. Is you special or something? Can you not read the sign? You know what that says? No niggers. You ever been face first in a latrine, boy?
Daddy, some white folks are messing with Junior.
Here.
Oh. Come on, boy. I thought you had to go to the bathroom. Come on.
Hey! Huh? Get over there, boy. Which one of you might have to get with this, huh? Which one? Which one's the leader? I want the leader.
We didn't know there was your boys, Wendell. We were just razzing them some.
You messed with me, not them, damn it. I'm ready to die for this. Is you? I ain't got time to mess with y'all. Why don't y'all just go ahead and take yourself somewhere? Go on somewhere. What I tell you about messing around where you ain't supposed to be? Huh? Come on. Daddy's got a race.
He was brave.
Don't mess with my family.
Oh, I love to see Daddy go around that racetrack. And then especially on a dirt track. See the car go around that curve. The hair stood up on my arm. Oh, it stood up on my arm.
He was a dirt track specialist. I mean, he loved dirt track because he could slide and he oftentimes could compensate for his lack of horsepower.
When he went on a turn that was too sharp, I never will forget, he'd put his chest, he'd lean it on the steering wheel, and when he got in the turn, he didn't turn it. He snatched it in there. And before you could get your breath back, he done kicked it over the other way up. He would downshift, boy, that dude could drive.
Slowly but surely, with all that was going on in our country at that time, Wendell sort of became a hero.
He had a lot of white fans. I mean, a lot of people always pull for the underdog, and they looked at Wendell as being an underdog.
Some of the biggest applause at these events from the white crowds in the stands would be for Wendell Scott. I think he did a lot through the personal example that he set to undercut the stereotypes that support any kind of prejudice. He had a passion and a love for the sport that these Southern crowds came to recognize and admire.
Race fans, Wendell Scott's got a huge lead on the field. It's his race to lose.
Wrench, 9/16. Come on, boy. Come on, wrench, 9/16.
I got it, Daddy.
Screwdriver, Phillips head.
I can't find it, Daddy.
What'd you say? Can't?
He didn't believe in can't or never. He taught all of the children that. He taught that was the thing in my family, that we just weren't allowed to use those words.
See, it's all worth it, all the hard work, the sacrifices we make. Y'all gotta be independent. Don't be punching nobody's clock. You gotta be your own bosses here and here.
Those kind of principles that he instilled in us, and not only instilled, but showed us, I began to get inspired.
Frank and Wendell Jr. was, 16, 17 years old. They'd come over and work half of the night and then go to school the next day.
It was nothing more important to me than helping him. And in turn, that would help the whole family.
I was always helpful in washing parts, washing tools. He would show me what to tear down.
Comes in, you drop the part down right there.
Okay.
Hey, girl.
Thanks, Daddy.
Oh, yeah, all right.
He was emphatic about keep your family together.
Mommy held all of us down. She kept us straight. She kept Daddy straight.
Scott, we've got these past due notices in the mail. And if we don't pay this bill by the end of the month, they're gonna kick us out.
How much we owe?
$800.
I didn't try to talk him out of what I knew he was determined to do. I really didn't.
Okay, well, best get back to work on that car.
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna be all right.
I hope so. I know we will.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
They were very close. They were the sort of couple where one of them could start a sentence and the other one can finish it. Mary Scott, she was loyal to her man.
He and I working together, we had the same ideas and determination.
Got the boys working on the car and baby girl.
Okay.
You see her back there. We're gonna get it right this time, all right?
I know we will, Scott.
Okay.
I know we will.
We would go, my brother, he and I would be on the highway headed to Alabama, Texas, wherever. And he'd have duties assigned to us, right, and we'd have to be responsible. He said, brother, look at that entry list for Huntsville, Alabama.
Smith.
Yeah.
Castle?
Yeah.
Petty, no. Jarrett, no.
If it was sporty cars, he said, now, mark off the ones we got. That meant we was gonna dust them anyway. Then he would say, now mark off the ones y'all want me to try to outdrive.
That's not gonna pay the mortgage. Now we need at least 12. 10 if we could.
We were like top 10 focused, because see, top 10 meant the light bill was gonna be paid, my third or fourth sister was gonna get new shoes this week. That's the Wendell Scott story.
What's that put us at, Frankie? 10th, Daddy. Yeah, it is.
I didn't understand back then, Daddy, why do we have to do this? Why don't you just go and outdrive these dudes?
I don't know if he ever really got to show his driving ability because his equipment was never strong enough that he could go out and run a 200-lap race wide open.
Most of the time when we went to the racetrack, our car had all new parts on it. Wendell would have to go to the junkyard and buy used parts. He knew that he could only drive the car as fast as he thought he could and still expect it to be there at the end of the race because he needed to get a paycheck at the end of every race.
Hey there, Wendell. How's your car looking today?
I tell you, Ned, I sure could use some better bearings. These junkyard parts is killing me.
I heard you were asking some of the other boys if they had anything you could use. These parts are ours, done worn out. They're yours if you want them.
Just like the maid at your house. People gave him, you gave the maid your used sheets and your used shirts and all that kind of stuff. That was the same thing with Wendell. He got used stuff. He got things nobody else wanted and discarded. Was that kindness? Well, in a certain way, it was a benevolent kindness. But did they give him new stuff? I can't recall many people giving him anything new.
I tell you, Ned, some of this top-line equipment of yours, you'll be seeing me in Victory Circle one of them days right quick.
That'd be something, Wendell. That sure would be something to see.
I sure would. Sure would.
All these big factory teams and all these guys, with the fast cars, they come down pit road, they got pit crews, they're changing tires, putting fuel in. And here comes this 34 car in. The driver gets out.
Race fans, Wendell Scott's actually getting out to perform his own pit stop. I've never seen anyone do that before.
I'm not even sure they had air wrenches. I think they may have been using just, hand wrenches to change the tire. And he gets the car cooled down, he gets the water in, he puts everything back, closes the hood, goes back around, gets in the car, and back out on the racetrack he goes.
I've never seen the number 34 run like this before. Wendell Scott's actually got a chance to win it tonight. Folks, we're about to witness history. Wendell Scott is about to become the first Negro driver to win a NASCAR race. My, oh my, Scott sure can sling that number 34 into the turn. Yee-haw!
He wound up a lap ahead of the whole field. He was the only car in the lead lap.
It was a 200-lap race. When lap 200 came about, they wouldn't drop the checkered flag.
Fans, here comes the field out of turn number 4. Wendell Scott about to take the checkered flag in. I must be mistaken. The field's going to head back down into turn number 1.
He's waiting for the checkered flag, and the NASCAR official just stands there. There's no checkered flag, and he runs another lap. Same thing. And then the checkered flag comes out for Buck Baker, who was actually some laps behind.
And it's Buck Baker's going to take the checkered flag. Jack Smith's going to come home in second. Wendell Scott will finish third.
Wendell had nobody. Wendell would probably, even though he won the race, they would have probably liked to have escorted him out of the track.
There was no confusion among the many drivers. Mechanics were at the track that day that Scott was leading that race. Everybody knew that Buck hadn't won, except for Buck, maybe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
There are literally thousands of drivers who raced in the series over the years that never got that opportunity to get into victory lane. And Wendell's one time, and then that moment of fame and glory that went along with winning a race was taken away from him.
The promoter had said that they simply did not want a black man kissing the beauty queen at the trophy celebration. So they could not have a black man win the race. I talked to Buck Baker's wife at the time, Margaret Baker, who was in the scoring stand. She was scoring for her husband. And she turned to the NASCAR's chief scorer and said, "You know Buck didn't win that race."
And he was just disgusted because he won the race, but yet they didn't want to honor him as the winner.
He was 2 laps ahead of Buck Baker. I mean, you couldn't deny that.
So eventually they came out and said, "Guess what, Wendell? You did win the race."
We look back at the scoring sheets, Wendell. There was an error. You finished first, Baker second.
Here's your money. What about my trophy? Second place took it. Trophy's gone.
What a lonely feeling. Biggest accomplishment of your life, what you had worked your whole life for, what you had devoted yourself to, your family. They didn't want him there. That hurts. That would hurt anybody.
We did not celebrate it and will never celebrate it.
You know, here's something that you've accomplished that you dreamed of doing and hoping that this is going to lead to better things and better opportunities for you, and even they took that away.
Scott knows he's pretty much at the end of his career, and he still hasn't scored another victory since the Jacksonville victory. And he decides to go over his head in debt and to buy his own highly competitive car. He got this Mercury. It was red, white, and blue. It looked like it had been designed for the American dream.
He done pawned everything he had. He was really in the hole financially because of doing it.
Everything that we owned, we're due to own, we're paying for.
Mortgaged everything. He had 2 properties. Put both his properties up. Put enough money together to purchase that car. And it was a beautiful machine. I mean, it was the first time we'd had the 429 engine.
Got him really a good race car. I bought a car, and it was first-class car, first-class equipment. Finally got a chance to maybe drive and use his driving skill because he had a car good enough to run good.
Talladega was the fastest track in the United States. This was going to be his chance to prove himself.
You know, sometimes you gotta go all in.
This track is the Adrenaline Raiser, 2.66 miles long. The infield alone consumes 315 acres, large enough to hold 31 Super Bowl fields. Undisputedly, the largest and fastest racing and testing facility in the world.
Daddy shook hands with a personality that day before the race. And I knew he didn't want to shake hands with him. This very man had declared war on my people.
Governor George Wallace appeals for calm. The federal officers are armed with a proclamation from President Kennedy urging the governor to end his efforts to prevent 2 Negro students from registering at the university. The governor is adamant. He made a campaign promise to stand in the doorway himself to prevent the integration of the last all-white state university.
I felt kind of ill inside, and this was just before the start of the race.
Every race here is shrouded in a cocoon of tension and anxiety for the drivers and spectators alike. 60 of the finest late model stock racers in the country pour out of pit row and onto the track.
And when they dropped that green flag, I'm thinking, he's lost his mind. He was gone, boy.
The biggest names in the business bring them down for the green flag, and suddenly the Alabama air rings with the sound of power.
He started 58th position, I think. On the first lap, he passed 18 cars.
He was flying in the early part of the race. He was coming up from the back of the field. He was passing one car after another. He said to me, he finally knew what it was like to drive a proper car on a super speedway. And it was one of the happiest moments of his life.
On the backstretch, this looks like a battle. A whole pack of cars went into that cloud of dust, and no one's coming out into the third turn. The backstretch looks like a junkyard.
I'd never seen so many race cars. Fenders, hoods, drivers out, safety trucks. It looked like a bomb went off.
I went down pit road, and Dave Marcus came in. I remember he came in, and I went to, I said, Dave, did you see that? Because Dad hadn't been around a couple of them. And I remember him saying, Frankie, I think your dad is dead.
Did the wreck at Talladega, did that pretty well end your career in Grand National racing?
Well, yes, it really did. I went right much in debt because I hadn't been doing good. And my boys told me to either get in the race or get out of the race. So I borrowed money on my property and bought me a real good car and got it tore up his first time.
And then, of course, you had some physical injuries as well, too. So.
Yeah. But it took me 9 years to pay for that car.
Is that right? Boy, you got a lot of memories to think back over and things. I guess you'd say, well, boy, I wish I hadn't done that.
No, I'd do it all over again.
You would?
He never announced his retirement. He never said, I'm quitting racing.
Would you still like to run a Grand National car?
I really would. I really would. A real good one. I still think I'm capable of running with the best. And with a real good car, I believe I could fool the world.
For years in his retirement, he still held on to that dream that maybe somehow it could still happen for him. I think maybe that's why those cars were still sitting around in the weeds, just in case. During the year that I knew him, he discovered that he had cancer and finally had to let go of that dream.
My father passed away from cancer of the spinal column, and I always tell myself it was from his many, many years of hard work, those nights and days on a cement floor in his garage working until his last days.
I don't think there's enough words in the dictionary to express how great a father he was. He afforded me and my sisters and brothers an education, college education, out of his own pocket. Was a great man, and I loved him dearly.
I'll guarantee you that before he passed, he and I had relived every cup race that we went to. And the way we did it is I have two books. Sometimes he'd use a pink magic mark. He told me, bring me one of them off-colored magic. So I got him a pink one. He got all kind of highlights in there. And then he would tell me how he dealt with whatever the track situation was, the competition, everything. He left that for me to go through. I can sit in my little raggedy house and turn them pages. Wendell Scott surprised winner in Jacksonville 100. Buck Baker was flagged the winner. That's what Daddy had, the BS. Was flagged the winner. Jack Smith was original hailed as runner-up. Scott jumped out of his 62 Chevrolet and insisted that he had won. I knew I'd won that race. Scott claimed I had lapped Buck Baker 3 times. That's his BS, too. That's the way he make his asses.
He never got the trophy. That upset him more than anything.
I'm sure the trophy meant as much to him as the money, even as badly as he needed the money.
My father always wanted his trophy. He never got it.
Hey, come down this way.
Coming down?
We have a Hall of Fame in Jacksonville called Jacksonville Stock Car Racing Hall of Fame, and he's been a member of our Hall of Fame since around '94, I believe. I think it's going to be a good night, and I really hope that it turns out to be a good thing for the Wendell Scott family that should have been done the night that he won the race.
You think Daddy looking at me?
He looking at all of us. He the one made this happen.
It's been a long time coming to give this trophy to Wendell. You know, he's not here to receive it tonight. Wish he was. His family's here, and hopefully he's here with us in spirit tonight to receive this.
We're gonna take Daddy's trophy to his gravesite, which is just up the street from us, and we're gonna tell him, Daddy, we got your trophy.
Thank you very much.
That's unbelievable.
This is wonderful.
For tonight?
My father's looking down tonight. The main thing that he was hoping and dreaming that this would, what he had done would help somebody else. That things that he had done would open doors for other people. And he tried to leave that legacy.
He's an exception. I mean, if you look at all the people that won races in NASCAR, how many black guys have won a race? Only one, and that's Wendell.
I began to look back and try to find out who the successful black drivers were, and it was pitiful. They just weren't there.
NASCAR has made more strides than most people know. We are never going to see another Wendell Scott, but I think that we can see people who Wendell Scott would be very, very proud of.
The Drive for Diversity program is a pretty narrowly focused initiative for NASCAR. What we're charged with is the responsibility of finding minority and women candidates that we can develop for future opportunities as drivers and pit crew members in the sport. Last year validated the model with Darrell Wallace being the first African American in over 40 years to win a Touring Series race. Competing for the championship, winning Rookie of the Year. Michael Cherry, the first African-American to win a late model race at Hickory Motor Speedway. Ryan Gifford, the first African-American to win a pole. Sergio Pena sat on the pole at the Toyota All-Star Showdown. We are a continuation of Wendell Scott's legacy.
He's opened the door. All we need is that door opening, and here it is, and now we just gotta walk through it.
He's a legend in our sport, especially for the minorities, so he's definitely been a huge role model to me.
He set the road for us, and he paved it, and we're, you know, he stopped at a point, and now he handed it down to us.
He'll never be forgotten. Daddy's legacy will live on and on and on.
He's definitely a pioneer because he broke the color barrier as far as winning races, and right now, even after 61 or 62 years, how old NASCAR is, he is the only black man that's ever won a race.
Without a doubt, the most tenacious race driver we ever had. To be able to go through all that in those days.
When you've lived those moments, it's so...
We have to take a trophy to his gravesite for him to really know that he was later recognized. 47 years, that's a long time. But thank God it eventually happened.